Time to have fun.
Mhm.
Alrighty, we're live on Sam and Sports Shows. It's a Thursday. It's Women's Month, and now what's the best part? We have a lovely lady on the show tonight. Tonight, ladies and gentlefish, we have a Survivor South Africa version winner on the show, a media personality, an actress, radio personality. You name it, you get it in anything media. We have Mrs. Vanessa Marao joining us
Mrs.
today. Miss. We have Miss Vanessa Marao joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, you are allowed to ask questions. You'll find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify. If you missed it, you'll find it on those platforms. Don't be shy. To kick off the show, Miss Marawa, just to give us a basis and a backtrack of where did the journey start and who is Vanessa Marawa?
Thank you, Sandile, and thank you for hosting me this evening. Very excited to be here. Mrs. Marawa is my mother. Let's start there. So I'm Miss Marawa. And, I just, it's such an interesting question because who is Vanessa Marawa? Okay, so Minage, my story is like most people. I don't think many people grew up it down. So mina ngakhulele farm ngasenkandla. Sasebenza esitolo ngama-holiday, singenisa imali, sisize nge-pension day.
Mm.
Out there, nje, basically not many neighbors. Growing up, watching a lot of TV because that was sort of our socialization. It was siyasebenza, masisebenza ekhaya, siyasikoleni, and then of course you come home and we're glued like this to the TV and to look at yebo, isikhathi sokulala manje. So I think that sort of formed the basis of going, hey, there's this other thing that people do out there that seems interesting. It's entertaining because we're watching it. And then, of course, with having to go to school, I was in Freiheit, the school in Inadini. That's where I was in primary school. It was a convent, so you imagine, raised by nuns from the age of 5. It might explain everything, but yeah. So then from there, I went to school in Maritzburg and then Konala Etegwini. And in all of that, when I grew up, there was no grades. So Skuluma standard 1, standard 1, standard 2, standard 3.
Yeah.
So when we got to standard 8, which is grade 10, we had to do this thing of choosing subjects in order to kind of guide you into your career. And I was stumped, Mina. I was like, the other kids were like, yeah, Mina, I want to be a doctor. Mina, I want to be fireman. You know, everyone had an idea. Unesi, and all of that. And I was like, goodness, there's so many options of what one can be, understanding that that choice can be for the rest of your life. And I couldn't settle on one thing. I knew I was smart for the most part. I knew that I was practical. I knew I liked to work with my hands. Even then, I knew I was independent. But with all of this, I knew I did not want to be a doctor because blood and things I don't. So it then went on where I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. And after some time, I got into modeling, which I also thought at the time, like, who does modeling? Like, it seems like you don't need to apply yourself in any capacity. But it then opened up a lot of doors for me unexpectedly. And then the career it started opening up for itself. I won't lie and say I had planned and then this happened and then I went to meet that. No, I won't lie about that. It literally unfolded with the grace of God the way that it did. And from the modeling thing, I then started doing TV presenting, and everything I've done, I've actually learned on the job. I've been lucky enough to be given an opportunity and then have had to sink or swim because that's the option you have, especially in front of people. You either literally have to just dig in and sort of sell it, or you go home and pack it in. So I presented a show on SABC3 that became quite successful. It was a women's magazine show called The Power Within. And it was during that time, I think I moved back to Durban for a while. Hey, life is long, but I think I moved back to Durban. And then saw the big advert, which is Survivor was coming to South Africa. I was their #1 fan. I was a big Survivor fan. I knew all the characters. I knew what you must and mustn't do. But the one thing I knew that I couldn't do was go and live in a desert island. There's nothing wrong. So I applied, and I thought, South Africa, what are the chances of actually making it? To my surprise, I made it. And off we went. We're the first season of Survivor, and and I came home with the prize. So that was a big surprise for everybody, including myself, but also a testament to just doing it, doing it. It was freaking hard. It was very, very difficult. You imagine staying in the middle of nowhere for 30 days, no food, no water, doing challenges every day. You lose weight, there's bugs, there's things in the sea that you don't know about. There's just, because we were in Panama, so it's not like in that water that you're sleeping by every night. So you're homesick as well. I didn't expect to be, because I was in my late 20s at the time. I didn't expect to be homesick. I'd been in boarding school all my life, but there I was, I think when the going gets tough, you do remember home. But it was nice to win, the first South African Survivor winner. It's something I can put on my CV. And to be a Black woman was also for me a big deal. And then things unfolded from there, and I ended up broadcasting, which is what I'm doing now.
Yes, it's a different journey, like from modeling to Survivor, now to broadcasting. Like there's different aspects to you, ma'am. Like you're a layer of onion here. Every year or so, there's a different layer to you, which is a nice to have. And now begs to the question of the learnings from Survivor. Like that's, like you mentioned, 30 days away from home, or if not more. In a different country, you don't know. It's just like you're saying, weight loss and all of that. How did you deal with that moment on, I signed up, I got in, now I need to make sure that I come out with gold, because I didn't do this for nothing. How was that moment or that month for you?
You very quickly on Survivor realize that it's real, because a lot of people go, oh no, is it real? Do you guys get food? We all have these concepts in our head, what must it be like? And for us, we literally landed in Panama, slept the first night at a hotel because they had to get us to the island the next day, very early in the morning. And they told us we're going somewhere else, got into a small plane, the plane landed and the game was on. Like they were like, grab what you can from your luggage and go. And then the helicopters with the cameras are flying and the branches are breaking and they're breaking on. And one of the branches hit me like within a minute. And I was like, they're going to stop and find out if I'm okay. And I was like, they were like, no. Now. And that's when I realized, no, these people are serious. Because I literally stopped. I was like, somebody's going to come and check on me. And they were like, So... and once you're in it, because then you also have to figure out, not only dealing with nature and homesickness, you're dealing with 13 other people that you've never met. You don't know from a bar of soap. So there's those interpersonal issues as well, where people like you, they don't like you, they have strategy or they don't have a strategy going. And you've got to also try and be nice to this person, but understand you might have that one. So it is a lot. And I think the one thing that I really learned from that was how to rely on myself, because for the first time, I couldn't call Ma and say, Ma, bayangihlupa, or hey man, or like my best friend and say, Choma, I'm sad or whatever the story. You literally have to deal and process everything for yourself, by yourself, because you can't trust any of these other peeps that are with you on this island. So that part I really appreciated. I was in a space where I was like, how Gandhi I'm capable. I don't always need to rely on outside guidance and help.
I can imagine not being able to call a friend, to call a family, to say, hey, what's up? Hey, what? Like, imagine not calling your brother or your mother to say, hey, Joe. Like, come see you. Yakala, you know. And that being said, I'm sure that has obviously been a great platform for you to be able to launch and manage your highs and lows as an individual in life, and navigating all the toughness that you do get as an individual in life. Um, and then on top of all of that, from Survivor into broadcasting, how is that doing? How did that come about? Did you just say, okay, I've done Survivor, I've done acting or modeling, I'm into broadcasting? What motivated for you to get into broadcasting?
Again, it was not a linear path. I, after Survivor, sort of went into my own wilderness of just trying to explore different things. I worked at
Mm.
Creation Wine Farms as a tasting room manager for a while out in Hermanus. Just, back when I won Survivor, there was no real social media. So it wasn't like, I'm doing things for likes and Instagram and whatever. There was none
Yeah.
of that. It was just like, she won, and life went on.
Mm.
And then I was like, okay, so what am I going to do now? And I was in Cape Town for quite a while, I think about 5 years before I came
Mm.
back again to Durban, Ngobaksekhaya. And then when I did come back, Pindi Kule actually called me and they had
Mm.
started this radio. I did not know. I just come back to Durban. I didn't know what was going on, what was happening in the streets. And they were like, they've got the
Mm.
station, Ivuma FM, Felix Shop, and I was like, I'm not a broadcaster, so I'm not too sure why you're calling me. And they're like, no, she thinks I'd be great. The only catch was that it was 50% isiZulu. And I was like,
Yes.
lalela.
Yes.
90%. And I was like, that might be a problem because as much as I'm, my mother is Umazulu, I had
Mm.
spoken, so I think and speak quicker. You see, well, then anyway, I've done better since, but it was a big thing to say, can I actually broadcast in a language that I'm more delayed in my thinking, and radio is immediate. You've got to deliver
Mm.
now. You are listening now. You can't go and form your sentence and come back. But they took me on either way, and they said, they'd give me all the help that they could, and we did. We did that breakfast show, Iguasa breakfast show with Felix, Mohammed, and Uketa Mkize as our producer. We did that for 9 months, and then they made some changes at the station, and we were fired.
Sure.
That's radio, though. Radio, quick fast, yeah, shit. And then came back about 2 years later, and they gave me my own slot on 9 to 12, and the show was called Till Noon. And that was when I really got into my own stride, because the kind of content that I like to do is kind of reach out to people to find out what makes people tick, find out what the challenges are, because I believe that we sort of all similarly have the same challenges. They just show up in different ways. And so it's about like trying to build a community to understand what sisonke in this game. We're all going through it. And if we've got wins, let's celebrate those wins. And if it's a tough time, then, we figure it out. And I really got into my stride doing that 9 to 12 show, which I did then for 4 years. And then again, went away. And I'm back now. It's been over a year doing 12 to 3. So Nayonje, it's its own shiga. But love it. I fell in love. It's literally my out of everything I've done, the thing that I most enjoy. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of in and out there, Vuma. But again, that being said, Vanessa, my question comes to you is that your brother obviously is a renowned personality in South Africa, especially radio and broadcasting. Has he been a good person to go to and bounce ideas off and be like, "Putwam yazin, ongisiza lana, I want to do this idea." Has he been a big pillar into where you are now currently in broadcasting?
Well, let me start by saying that nobody does TV or radio like my brother, not just because he's my brother, but because he does what he does really well. But in our family, and I think it's one of those things that I say to people, Uguti, if you had 2 doctors in the same family or 2 lawyers in the same family, chances are they wouldn't want to talk about umsebenzi ekhaya or mabendawonye. But because we're in the media, people expect that, and we don't. We don't talk about it. It sounds strange, but I don't often, if I'm like now, I'm back on radio. When I was off radio for 2 years, I would listen to his show. But because I'm back on, I don't listen to it as much because we're born from the same mother. So when he does something, I do, and I want to do something, I want mine to be organic. I don't want to think of something. I want mine, even if it might sound similar because we have the same mother, yeah, like some small thing. But for me, I purposely don't want to believe for myself, I was influenced in any way. So that way we try and keep it separate. He would be a great source of knowledge, but like, I think it's part of my personality to try and figure it out for myself. The pitfalls, figure it out. If I fall in the pit, then it's for me to get out. I think that's part of sort of my personality. Yeah. And he won't learn anything from me, so there's no point in that conversation.
Yeah. Oh, but CC, that those walls, I know them very well. Me,
you know the story.
Listen, very well. We'll be doing different things, but I understand the learnings of siblings and their relation. And speaking about outside siblings, you mentioned that obviously you like doing a lot of things on your own and figuring things out on your own. So it begs that, did you ever have a mentor or someone that you go to outside, like to say, an experienced someone in the studio or producer, say, hey, dude, how do we do this? How do we go about this? And why that person or those people that you chose, a group of individuals?
I haven't had a mentor as such, Sandile. I think what I've had is people for various challenges that I would call upon, who I feel like are best suited to help me with that particular challenge. As I go through this radio broadcasting journey, every day I'm learning. Every day I'm hoping I'm getting better. But according to me, lendo marawa is a cousin. So I'm very stubborn and I like to do things my own way. That's just. And I do go to people for guidance. I do say, like, I'm trying to achieve this. Am I going about it the right way? Because I always feel like there's a niche for everybody. And I want to drive my wagon in my niche. So, like it, but at the same time, it's just something that I want to take on. And when I wrap up the mic and put down my headset at the end of this particular phase of my life, I want to say I did that. For me, that's always important to say, yeah, I've had help along the way, as we all do, but Kakulu, that was driven by me. Yeah.
So you want to say, yes, in this legacy, Vanessa Marawa was left by Vanessa. Yes, there was people in GH, to say, but majority of it is Vanessa and it's Vanessa only, which is a powerful thing to build and have. And a lot of people, now comes to my next point, or to my next question, of, in this journey of yours and having to want to build things your way and say, this is Vanessa Marawa and obusho kandeqinile, and it's segazini ukuthi segazini to be on radio and have the personality to be a broadcaster. Is there anything in the journey that you've had so far that you want to change?
Gosh, there's a lot of things that we always want to change, just in life in general. I think for me, I could easily say, I wish I hadn't been off air the 2 times that I had been. I wish I had learned more, because we had a really great programs manager when I first got on radio. Oh, actually, it was the second time. Patrick Bohatsu, who was a radio legend, and he was our programs manager. And of course, we had just a very interesting relationship, because he demanded excellence. And I had my own way of doing it, but delivering it. So we would butt heads quite a bit. And he's passed on. And I sometimes go back and say, I wish I'd taken more from him from the knowledge and the experience that he had. because now there's times when I'm like, I should phone Patrick, and he's not there, and may his soul rest in peace. But it's just those small things, because I still believe that isn't just fun on radio, TV, most of the media things. I think a lot of, like we're having now, a conversation on YouTube and Instagram, they have sort of changed themselves because of the medium that is now used. But with radio and TV, which are older, I feel like there is an expectation for things to change too dramatically. Like people want, I don't know what they want to do on radio, but mafunanje. And I think radio is a institution because of its tradition. Sometimes that's okay to have a traditional space of yasagazwa. You have interaction, you have great music, and that's a show. It doesn't have to have bells and whistles and explosions. So yeah, I think we fight that battle now as everybody, thinks they can do whatever in media, which is fine. I'm sure they can.
And you touched on points of radio and TV personalities and how everything happens in that space where now, yes, it's Women's Month, but I beg the question of how hard is it for a female or a woman in South Africa in general to break into broadcasting? I know broadcasting alone is a tough gig, but as a woman and as a female in South Africa, how hard is it to get into it?
Look, it is a tough gig. Just from, I did look at some of the research that was done, I think even before I got into broadcasting, about why even listeners prefer to listen to men on radio. It's actually apparently a fact. And it's about sort of the tone of their voice. It's like very sort of scientific, out there things that I'll never understand. But I did see kind of the weight of that argument. But I do think that as we sort of shift a little bit more into a space where we also understand that women have something to say, and if bakwazi ukuyiphatha ngendlela umlaleli angalalela ngakhona, because I think it always comes down, I like I said, I don't go to my brother for much advice, but one of the things that he's famously quoted saying, Robert, is that the listener is my boss. And so if we always keep that in mind in radio, will the listener welcome this, whether it's from a man or from a woman? And in my journey, it has been hard, more on the will I get hired or fired, or will I have a good relationship with management side, more than with the listener. The listener and I are able to get along great. We obviously build trust and a friendship and a companionship over time. But in general, I think it's more on the behind the scenes side that the challenge comes in for a female broadcaster. But it's not insurmountable. And I always hope that things change the more females are in management in that space.
And mentioning that, obviously yourself being there in the broadcasting space, there's likes of Cass Naidu and Natalie that did it at ACBC, with Sis Carol that's also done it for many moons. How is it to be in that caliber, in that space of them, of being a pioneer within broadcasting, never mind TV, but radio, and just being a media personality? How's that been? How's that journey been for you to be able to classify yourself personally and be classified within that journey of, guys, I sit with pioneers in women broadcasting or broadcasting in general?
The first word that comes to mind, and it's one that's probably overused, but it is humbling. It's one of those things that because you go through your life, and sometimes some people do, but I personally don't take moments to go, okay, Sengila. You're just hustling, and you're just trying to get through it. You're trying to be better than you were yesterday. And then you go to perhaps an event and you meet these people that you idolize or that you see from a distance, and they're like, hey, Vanessa, and you're like, wait a minute. Abo Cares, Abo Carol, Siazana, like we are together. But to be in that sort of space or that fraternity, even though fraternity implies masculine, but the female fraternity of radio and broadcasting is humbling, because when you've got your nose down and you're working hard, you always hope to achieve something like that. And when you look up and you're there, or you're getting there, it's a feeling you actually can't describe. It's something that, yeah, you can't describe. It's like, okay, yeah, good.
It's a dream every single day, I guess. I'm assuming it's a dream for you every day, where you be like, yes, I'm a pioneer in what I do. I'm good at what I do. And like you're saying, you've been in radio for almost 8 years now, if not more. You've been on television before we even realized television is a career, And that, before I bring on obviously my fellow panelists and get my fellow team, I wanted to ask you in terms of how can you advise an individual, for myself, and say, Sis Vanessa, I want to get into broadcasting. What can I do? What course can I do? Is there a set course, or is there a set stream or path that I'll take into getting to broadcasting?
My thing, if you've listened to my show at all, especially early last year, I had a big thing about younger people. When I say younger people, I mean like what people call them at 2000. Because you came into this world when there was so much media that, it was quick, fast. I take my camera, I'm on YouTube now, I'm on Instagram now, I've made it. If you still want to follow kind of the traditional steps, and you want to take it seriously, and you want to grow, and you're fine to start at the bottom of whatever space that you find yourself in, the biggest piece of advice that I think, excuse me, there's a bike, that I think anyone, I can give to anyone, is to say, please take it seriously. Because those that are older than you in that industry, or the ones that might come and look for you, that might look for your specific kind of talent, if you're not taking it seriously, we see you very quickly. It becomes clear. It's like your CV ungakangena emnyango. If you think everything is just, can't take it seriously, you're drinking on the job, you're smoking weed, you're doing whatever, it's just vibes, and not taking the colleagues and those that came before you seriously. I don't mean you need to hero worship them, but being a and just someone, like, just be a human. For me, that's, if I was in a space where I had to hire somebody who was young and wants to get into that space, I would pick whether they're talented or we can work on the talent. If you are hlonipha umsebenzi, uyazihlonipha wena, uyazihlonipha sonke, that for me would surpass somebody who is hugely talented but cannot respect the space. So for me, that's the biggest piece of advice that I would give, seeing people coming up at the moment.
And you mentioning that, Sis Vanessa, obviously a lot of people start picking niches of, okay, when I get into broadcasting, I want to do sports, or I want to do lifestyle. In your own space, what is your niche, or what is your, like, as in, this is my go-to space, this is where I own it, this is where I'm comfortable, and why did you choose that niche?
Mine is lifestyle, simply because I've lived. I mean, that's like, I've lived a very colorful life, but lifestyle for me incorporates everything that you do and need on a day-to-day basis. So when I was doing the 9 to 12 show on Ivoma, that included speaking about your health, it included your mental health, it included spirituality, it included everything that makes an individual tick. Now that I'm doing 12 to 3, the space does not allow for us to do health and all of those topics. So what we talk about now is politics, what's going on in your space. We have a community conversation. We have space for, again, a male where give space for men to talk, because men, as they are known to, don't talk as much. We do topics about Indemnyama, which is us, abantu abamnyama. We're not talking about the issues that are facing us every day. As Kuzani futhi when we're stepping out of line, as Nomani futhi when we're doing well. So these are the conversations that, for me at my age, make up my lifestyle. So that's why I choose lifestyle. Psychology, that's a big thing for me. Like I always say, mental health, mental health, mental health, because again, as abantu abamnyama, we seem to not be quite taking it as seriously. People are going through it, especially in 2024, and we're not talking about the why and how we can help each other. So for me, people like to use the word empath, but I think it's used also again too broadly. But I have, zwelo and shame, at the end of the day, zwelo. So I always try and understand if I don't already understand, because I've lived some years. I can relate. I can relate. So that's why I like to do lifestyle.
Yes, I think you've said quite a lot, Sis Vanessa, and the beauty about that,
I'm a broadcaster,
me also as an aspiring as also like you meant, like I'm an aspiring broadcaster and a podcaster in both. Do you think channels like with podcasts, do you think those type of platforms and this platform that we're on now, YouTube, Instagram, do you think those platforms enhance the skills as a broadcaster and allow you to be able to grow on a day to like, okay, let me start doing a podcast, let me start doing YouTube and Instagram lives and Twitter spaces? Do you think those platforms allow you to grow as an individual or into the broadcasting space?
What I think they do is that they give you confidence, and that is a major part of making it in this industry. I think those spaces give you confidence. You learn to be in front of camera, because for years, I used to get really, really like shaking nervous when I saw a camera, as many times as I had spoken in front of it. But if you're doing that, you're getting used to that idea of people watching you, people commenting and making whatever comments. And especially now, Obama comments, I feel people watch us on TV and they'd comment by themselves at home, and we didn't have to hear it. But so you're getting a thick skin from people saying, because people say whatever they like. It might be true or not in my comments, but you learn to have a thick skin, which you need in this game. The confidence part. But I think, again, there's a very fine line between all of that confidence, because if you have like a very controversial topic, you might get like 3 million views. It doesn't mean that you are ready for. It just means, people like Indaba, say Indaba, including myself, and we will watch. So if you want to develop your skill, then learn from that experience and take it to another level, and then maybe go to broadcasting and come back to podcasting. But if you just want views and endorsements and whatever, then do you as well. I can't be mad at that. I'd love to have 3 million views. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
No, it did. And because for example, the reason I asked that question, we look at people like, for example, Mac G, who came from radio and went into podcasts, and I think that had a massive following for him because he was behind the mic for most of the time, so he knew what it took to make it behind the mic, and the understanding of the technicalities of using that equipment to become, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to have, this is how I project myself in a podcast. And I think that's the most important thing. Like you mentioned, confidence is key. And especially, for example, you have done modeling, you've been on television, now you're on radio, and that goes a long way for an individual. And I think before my team decides to join us tonight, is words of motivation for a youngster to say, okay, this is what I want to do in life. From Vanessa to say, yes, and this is what I want to do to life. This is my parting words to you. What would you say to a youngster?
Look, try. That's the first thing. Try, because we always, for myself, things looked bigger than me. It was like a mountain, and it was like I could never do that. I could never reach that goal. Yes, kids nowadays are a bit more confident, but I think deep down inside, you have that bit of doubt. Which, am I really capable? But you've got to try. And then you're going to fail. You're going to fail once. You're going to fail twice, 3 times. It's not guaranteed for anybody. If I could tell you the story of how Robert fine-tuned his art while we watched him growing up, he didn't just wake up. The point is that he didn't just wake up one morning and do what he does. It's not like that. But for a young person really wanting to get into this industry, it's an industry like any other. It's about making money for those that it's about making money for. For you, it's about building your reputation. So try and keep your reputation as clean as possible, unless whatever, you want to be that controversial person, that's on you. But try. Try. If you fail, ask for help. If you fail again, go to another person and ask for help. People in this industry, I'd say 70% of them are willing to help. It's just how you approach us and what it is that you need from us. But as an industry tonight, most of us don't mind passing it on, because we want to still be listening to radio, not in a 90. We want good people to listen to in our retirement. We want our kids, if they're not in this media space, to have media personalities that they follow and like. So please just go for it. Work on that confidence. The confidence is the first thing that you've got to get down. Then you work on the little bits. You learn how to ask questions. You learn how to listen. You don't just write questions and then go, and then in the middle of somebody talking about something else, when question number 3, and like, just learn the techniques and listen to other people, how they do it. But just do it. Try.
Yes. I hope all the youngsters that are listening there, and every other human, not even youngsters, every other human that's out there, old or young, I hope you heard, guys. Listening is a skill, because it goes a long way. It goes a long way. And that being said, you mentioned a point earlier on, just checking back on our conversation of when you had one, obviously, survivor back in 2006, social media wasn't a thing, or social media wasn't present. I think around about that time, Facebook was a thing, Now, fast forwarding 18 years later, do you think if you had to go to Survivor, let's say pre-COVID, do you think you would have probably made it in terms of, because I know they consider a lot of public votes. Do you think it would have helped you to have those public votes to say, okay, Skim Sam, guys can vote in now, I need to get in. Do you think that would have made a bigger impact on you also going forward in anything that you enter for?
I think for me, the social media absence in my time on Survivor was a blessing and a curse. Yes, I would like, if it happened now, I'd probably have at least 1 million followers somewhere. But it was also a blessing, because then a lot of people kind of didn't sort of know who I was, or they did, but weren't sure. So I could reinvent myself. I wasn't just that person forever. So that was the blessing and the curse. But I don't know. I haven't watched Survivor in a while, but I don't know about this whole public vote thing. I like the pure Survivor, where those that went through it with you on the island, those people vote on who wins. The other people, I don't want your votes. That's who I want. Nobody, please don't get involved in our things. Just watch.
Well, you need those people. I'm gonna the show needs viewership, and I think that's why they consider them.
But don't get involved in the voting process.
It creates the atmosphere. It creates that ambience. But okay, Yazin, we're also part of the show. You could ever say, yes, the conditions aren't. We don't understand the conditions. We don't understand the mental space. Now it's got we are within. We're there with you every night. We're supporting you whenever Survivor's there. And I think that's probably why.
You know what, Sandile? I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm being a bad listener. But people, they're going to be like, where? Meanwhile, the other peeps there are getting their whole families and communities to, please, just view, okay? Just view.
Yeah, I think, but that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. That's the whole experience and the fun. Or a public. We swapped around. Being a public figure, is you. They always say don't read comments on socials, and now being in that space now, if something has happened or you've said something on a show, do you ever go back to platforms like Twitter and Instagram and TikTok to just say like, or what's the verdict or what's the review of my show? As the team comes in, you can give us a broad understanding of that.
Because I didn't really grow up with it, I'd like to think I've got a thick skin, but I think sometimes, like I said earlier, people just comment to be commenting. And if it's got no value, I can't take it on. You know, we don't have such hard-hitting topics that are gonna rile people up and get them fighting about, you know, where this whole thing that's happening in the news right now. We would touch that topic, but from a legal aspect. So you won't have people saying I said this or whatever. We always try, especially the platform that I'm on, Ivuma FM, we try and not get ourselves into things. But I'm a comment, like people will be like, Nikoga Bevuma. We're like, and I would say thank you, because I hope that made you feel better. Hi.
Hello, Ms. Marawa.
Well, we're finally joined by the rest of the team. Mo has joined us. So Mo, welcome to the show.
Thank
Do you have any
you.
questions for our lovely guest today? As you've joined us and obviously listening in the background, is there anything you want to add on or anything you want to ask?
I actually have a list. It's like 21 questions in total, but I'm going to pick my favorite for now,
Yes.
right? And I think just obviously reflecting on your journey on Survivor and how different it was then to how it is now. I just want to find out your view on how important it is to then have that personal brand, whether it be on social media or as a person. When we are seeing you walk around wherever, how is it important for you to keep to that brand? Because a lot of what happens in broadcast is associated to your lifestyle as well. And when people see mhlampe Vanessa Marawa, then they automatically associate it with Vuma FM, for instance. So how important is it for a person to uphold that?
It's a bit of a not so definite line these days as it was maybe a few years ago. I think even media companies are kind of not sure how to walk that line, because you have a situation where if somebody is controversial, either as a brand or they've had a controversial moment, those media houses, I think, would hope that it would translate into listeners or viewers, whatever the platform is. So they kind of are on that thing of, okay, will this controversy bring us more, or should we step in and do something about it? For me personally, I think I'm pretty mid-range in terms of the fact that the brand that I've built, like I said, it almost came together naturally. So I will always walk in my truth, and the brand is hardly going to be far, like me as an individual is hardly going to be very far away from the brand. The model part, I mean, I will not always walk around with full makeup. I don't wear makeup like on a daily basis. I don't. So that part, people are always like, is this the same person? But I don't think I look all that different. So that's probably the only thing that's not on brand, is that I don't walk around with lashes and the whole thing, because it's tiring.
Yeah, no, it does get a bit tiring. And I think that's one thing that people forget, obviously, stepping into this place. And I'm going to speak for our generation, because a lot of what I'm seeing or what is there in our generation, it's okay, I need to look good for camera. I need to always, be camera ready. And then they forget that you're a human being. You don't go to sleep, makeup your half, or you don't go to sleep with your lashes on, and you don't want that image. It's okay. We see a different person when she has makeup on, and then she doesn't have makeup on. You walk and you not be recognized. So on that note, it's then bringing me to the thought of how authentic one still needs to remember that. You come from somewhere, you've been someone before, you had all this fame and all that, and the true need to stick to your roots, which brings me to my next question, Uzi. You, as Vanessa Marawa, what are the things that ground you to not get overtook by the fame that may be forthcoming to you?
I think the biggest thing, and this is I've found over time, I don't think there's something that I aim to do to kind of stay, because I do have days I can literally go anywhere, put on sunglasses, and nobody will know anything, and I prefer that. What I have chosen purposely to do is to take this as a job. Yes, the job includes being in front of people. Yes, it includes some glamour. A lot of glamorous moments, by the way, in this industry are not as glamorous as they look, but asiko lapho. So I've just chosen to take it as a job. And if I'm in a space where I need to hype up that element of it, then we'll do that. But on a day-to-day basis, I prepare for my show. I speak to my producer. We, like anybody would do, I pack his kaftini because I'm not going to be buying food every day. Like, this is my life, you know. And I'm happy that I get to influence in some ways members of the public, our listeners, people like that. I might have people that look up to me, but fundamentally, gumina gisemsebenzini. And at some point, clock off, and at some point, I need to take care of Vanessa for Vanessa.
True. That's very nice. And on the note of clocking off, we as people in media or just in the sporting industry, in the broadcast industry, in totality, there's a certain aspect of our life that is obviously lived out there that we need to uphold as well. So I think in 17 they call it something like a full stop on a Friday where your work week has ended. What is it for you that is a full stop that you reward yourself with at the end of every work week? That you say, okay, now when I do this, I know that I can settle in and just relax if you get that opportunity to relax.
Sleep. Sleep is my full stop. Sleep is my full stop. I go sleep, guys. Sleep is it's demand. It's like diamonds. This thing. Sleep.
It's
No, just to be quiet, not think about, because in broadcasting, no matter what sort of genre, whether you sport or lifestyle or whatever, you have to keep up to date with everything.
Yes.
Forms, whether you need to know what's happening in politics to be able to deliver sport. You need to know what's happening in sport to deliver lifestyle. So you don't have to be completely immersed in it, but you always have to know. So that's, I think it's only on Sunday, but only until about 7 when all the news starts coming up again, that I'm able to just, I don't need to know what happened for a couple of hours. I don't want to. And that's my full stop. I just I need time to be like, what am I doing actually while goodness pity out there?
Yeah. So we're just gonna quickly take it to the comment section. Obviously we're chatting to Miss Vanessa Marawa. She is very well versed when it comes to broadcast as a whole. And I think one that stands out for me is one from Ufahira Crouch, and she is basically asking whether or not you think the crust and core they carried and created has gotten lost along the way from then until now. So what are your thoughts on that?
Do you think that crust and core?
In broadcast.
In relation to
okay. All right. You know what? I was thinking about this interview coming here, and I was thinking about the phenomena of women in broadcasting. And the first woman that comes to mind when I think about who I listened to growing up, because there weren't many, was Umam Shadow Twala, who used to speak to truckers, by the way. He used to speak to truckers at night on Metro FM. And it was a huge thing. It was big, it was busy. And she was like their companion as they drove. The reason I was thinking about that is that when I talk about where we are now with broadcasting and all the other media that's around us, that connection that one has, because when you talk on the radio, you're talking to one individual. You might have a million people listening, but you're connecting to one person. And so I think, to go to the question that came, we're on the precipice of moving away from that, because people are used to doing lives and talking to all of their viewers at the same time. No, that's what it is in broadcasting. So I'm hoping that crust and core can remain, but I think we might, because of all the other available media now, sort of maybe miss that. And I think that's what radio brings, that's what broadcasting brings, is that connection, one-on-one, even if it's banning.
We have one more comment that I would just like to put on the screen for you, Ne. This one is just for you. So obviously this one goes on from Mr. Nick.
She's my favorite person. We're very fortunate the choice to love of radio and TV. As kids, they had a very big satellite. We used to watch and entertain ourselves and kids. I love you, Mom. This is my favorite person. My mother, by the way. Like, oh, that was my mom.
Can we just take note of how much you're blushing? Like that is so adorable.
I
That is so
will.
She
adorable.
saw,
Mostly
she
is my
saw the
number
name
one.
and her face went.
It just lit up so much.
Guys, when your mom, it's like when your mom shows up to like a school play, you know that feeling. You look in
Yes,
the crowd,
yes.
your mom's there. That's how I feel right now. Like she
Mm.
came.
She saw what you do in life. I think like you just mentioned something that's very interesting. How when a parent sees what you actually do, like imagine if one of our parents also had to come like, hey, Sunday in this, you always are gonna smile, and I think this was just a special moment to see how your face lit up and like, okay, the mom's also seeing what I'm doing during in front of a band, it's not just okay, you hear me on a radio, you're actually seeing me on the screen, man.
I'm so sorry. I have to just say, and I don't know where you guys and your families are, but in this industry, one thing that people who are in it or still coming up, it's very difficult to explain to your parents what you're trying to do.
Mm.
You know, to say, "Yeah, I'm just going to Yabonzo Koloma every day, and then people are going to pay me." So when they finally do see you deliver and
Yeah.
they see you succeed and they support that, it's a very big moment. And that's why you got to keep trying because you will get there. It's hard to convince them at the beginning, but it's just going for it that will keep you having one of these moments one day where you're just like,
Mhm.
oh my.
I got a
Yeah.
question for you. Yes, this is Vanessa. You've mentioned a very interesting point where how did you break it to the parents or the family about okay, mama, baba, this is what I wanna do, Because you know how our parents are, they always say, is daily mali, is it worthwhile? How was that conversation to to the family? But hey guys, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going with.
We didn't have the conversation. I was actually adverts when I started modeling. I actually started at the end of high school. So I was
Mm.
going to lectures and then I was like, I'm not feeling these lectures. And also, university is like a big different ball game, right? From high school, you go there and there's nobody making
Mm.
sure that you're in class and they're not taking a you
Yep.
know. You're kind of like, and then yeah, then the modeling took off, and I guess the rest is history. But I do know that my mom and dad worried for me, especially as a black woman in South Africa. They did worry to say, like, "Are you sure? Are
Mm.
you sure?" And because they did think, "Wuti, you're a clever girl," as my mom used to say.
Mm.
"Wuti, why aren't you pursuing more academic things?" But yeah, the heart wanted what the heart wanted. So that's why I'm even more excited because she came through today. I didn't even have the guts to have the conversation with you know that course I was doing at Vince.
It's not the one. It's not the
It's
one.
not worth
And
it's not worth it.
and it's always hard. I think, like you mentioned, our parents always say, no, you're a smart one, you're a clever one, go do this course. And for us to go into branch into broadcasting and such fields, it really is exciting when they start supporting the dream. And because I think that's the most important thing as individuals, like you mentioned, that they see what we're doing, not only hearing it, but they're seeing it. Oh no, yes, yeah, they're doing good things, they're doing big things wherever they are. And they always refer to Joe because and they're doing big things. Yes, with TV. And it's always special to see. And I'm sure obviously being a parent and aunt and elder also, you always love to see that with your kids and kids around you saying, yes, Mnanam, well done. And I think that's what every other child wants to hear. Well done. Other in ufika kanjani, how you gonna make it? All they want to hear is well done. And
And that's the thing. And
it's just a
it's
lot.
one of the things that you when you get it, it's I mean, I'm not 20. It's taken years of work to
Mm,
prove, to show and prove which is that this is what it's all about. I still have more that I want to do, but to get that well done. I mean, my mom listens to both me and my brother every day and supports my other siblings and what they do in other ways because they're not out there. So yeah, it's a nice feeling.
mm. And now you're mentioning, obviously we've obviously spoke about Uput Robert earlier on, but how's also been the other support of your other siblings in the journey? Like because they're not in the same field as you, and obviously probably more exciting to have a conversation like, hey guys, this is who I spoke to, this is who I'm speaking to. How's that relation and excitement when you have to relay such conversation to them?
Well, it's interesting because sometimes like they don't care, which is fair because I don't know what's going on in their industry. But when there is something that's important to me, you know, they do rally around and support. And the one sister that's in Durban, just because she's here, she gets really excited and she listens to Uma when, you know, she's in the car or traveling, and she'll give me like probably the few people that can give me feedback that I'll take on, because I know she's coming from like she's got no no something in this game, no skin in the game. She's literally telling me as my sister and as well as somebody listening. So when she tells me something, good, bad, or ugly, I tend to listen to Kuku. But you know, they're always going to be supportive. It's the structure. Obviously, we'll have our ups and downs, as every family does. But on the whole, you know, it's about we're all going forward, and if we can help each other along the way, then we do that. But like I said, sometimes abanandaba because they're like, not easy.
Look, it's always a fact. Like siblings will always have that energy. Like, I know, dude, do what you gotta do, but it's now. In spirit, it's now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I think that's the biggest support you ever need from family and friends. In closing, sis Vanessa, what words, parting words you share, and just a young thank you to everybody that's obviously been on the show with us today.
Parting shots for me today. I think I've literally said what I feel like I wanted to say today. And just to summarize the main points is that if you want to be in this game, in whichever part of media that you'd like to find yourself in, either in front of the people, behind the people, there's many different careers in media, is that you just have to be kind of serious about it. And then go for it. That's the other thing. Reach out for help. Like I said, more than, you know, average people that are in this game are willing to help. It's just the approach. You also sometimes might have to work for free. You might have to shadow somebody. You might have to fill in. You might have to hold lights, be a runner. But we all started out somewhere. Because I used to do makeup on, what was that thing? Soul Kids or something. Soul Buddies, that's what it was called. I used to be a makeup assistant, and things like, so we've been there. You know, I might say that the career came together all of a Sunday, but I've also done my fair share of behind the scenes and wiping off children's face. Like, we've been there. So you must also be willing. You know, very few people start off right at the top, very few people. So be willing to do that and you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. Drop me a DM, drop me a comment on any of the social media, Vanessa Marawa. If you want to ask a question, I'm more than happy to answer. But I want to thank everybody that came through this evening on the day before Women's Day, Noha. And I'll start with my sisters and say happy Women's Day to all of my ladies. I hope the gents who are listening are going to take good care of those ladies in your life, whether it's your aunt, your mom, your sister, your wife, your girlfriend, your niece, whomever. Just be kind. And if you can't give her anything of value, give her a break. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Sis Vanessa, for those wise words. Thank you for such a different show, like a breath of fresh air. First show or second show into Women's Month. Thank you for that, much appreciated, especially day before Women's Day. Humbly appreciated you being with us and honored to have you on our platform. To all of viewers of Sam and Sports shows, thank you for pulling in on a Thursday night. We'll be back again next week, same time, same place. Don't be shy, we're always available. And have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.